Hello and welcome. I am the Restless Kaiser.
And I am Johnny B.
And I am Poxin.
And I am 6+ Stevo.
But together, we are...
Modeling for Advantage.
Again, facts. Thank you.
Give you a moment to let your ears recover after that audible bombardment.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, isn't
it? So, what are we up to tonight then? I am putting some tofts on my Team Yankee Britishers. What about you, Johnny B?
Me, I've got so many things like any other hobbyist that I can't decide what I'm going to do. So I'm going to plink around doing random things. I do have a little delivery that turned up, so I will open that during the stream. Mr. Pogson, what are you doing, sir?
I'm going to put some brown on some little Lannister infantrymen. Get really exciting tonight. Just brown.
Right. Just so you know, David, I'm only 4 models away from being finished because I got someone else to pin them
into starting. Two of the different ages. Fine, we'll get there. Stevo, what are you up to?
I'm just really not in the mood for painting tonight, so I thought I'd do some building, and I'm building some Blood Bowl grots.
Yeah.
The Scar Crag Snivelers. I've never played Blood Bowl, but this will be my first team, and I've almost finished them. I've only got 3 left to build, so hopefully I can finish the 3 of them during this stream. We shall see.
Well, you've definitely picked one of the best teams in the game.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Top tier.
Without having ever played it, I already know that's true because they're goblins.
Yeah,
goblins.
There we go.
John is masterfully poor at Blood Bowl, from what I hear. Right, I'm going to have a quick look around the comments and we're going to get Stevo to introduce himself. So, Rosie Raccoon, Johnny B's better half, is here. Josh Wood is here. Alid is here. Good evening, mate. Nick from Team Clueless Games, going to work on some Cursed City models, getting that vampire vibe. Nice. Josh Wood, Texane, Rich John, hello, all the members here. Subcommandante 73. There we go. Friends of General Haig. Still the funniest thing on the internet this year. Mate, thank you very much. Might not be true, but we appreciate it. Steve Harbour. Bloodletters in Nurgle Woodland Colour Scheme. Interesting. All right, that's it from the comments for now. I'll get cracking on. John?
Right then, Umi. What is your name? And who's your daddy? In that order, sort of.
We discussed this earlier, didn't we? I said to go for a Ray Winstone.
It didn't go Ray Winstone.
Yeah, don't know what that was. Yeah, I am 6+ Stevo, and I do the YouTube channel called 6+ Stevo, and it's primarily, almost exclusively focused on 40k orcs. I do occasionally cover some other bits occasionally, but yeah, I'm all about 40k orcs and greenskins. I'm also 1/4 of another channel that we do called the Orc War Bosses with 3 good friends of mine, 3 other YouTubers, Dim the Hobby Git, Dreadwire Gaming, and Skarner of Plastic Crack Gaming, and we come together to do the War Bosses of the Apocalypse show, live show every month. A very similar format to this, really, very chilled out sort of discussions and things, and usually just taking the mick out of each other for a couple of hours at a time, which is always good fun.
Nice.
So where can people find you, Stevo? What's the name of your channel and all that?
6+ Stevo is the name of the channel. They can also find me through the 40k Orc community, which is something I'm a part of. That we've got a Facebook group, which is a great place for anyone who loves orcs. Of people want to share other creators, YouTube content, just want to share their conversions. We've got producers of miniatures that are on there, all kinds of people, and it's just a great place to get inspired and stuff. We've also got a Discord group of the same name, 40k Orc Community, which is a great place to come and hang out with other YouTubers and greenskin lovers. And
a disco group, mate.
Yeah, no. Yeah, come and hang out at the old roller disco. That's where you can find me.
That may date us somewhat. Johnny B, have you ever indulged in such a thing as a roller disco?
No, I have been to a silent disco.
Oh, that's
So
a very
quite
modern
fun.
thing, isn't it?
So have I.
Yeah.
I've been to a silent disco.
And that's
kinda crazy.
hilarious, especially
is.
when you take off the headphones and everyone's singing along really badly. It's awesome.
And what about you? What about you, Pogson? You ever been to a roller disco? This is where you're going to tell me they've revived it, haven't they?
No, I used to go to one once a week. But I come from a real backward little town in Oxfordshire. There was nothing else to. But yeah, we used to go. The best thing, there used to be 2 tiers. You'd have the good skaters would turn up at kind of 6 o'clock. The crappy skaters would be there at 5 o'clock, and you used to turn up and you used to go in a big circle for an hour, and have a couple of pops, and then go home. It was basically
when you say 2 tiers. It wasn't based on family income. You mean like level of how good you could skate, like, or
skating quality? Yeah, it had to be invited.
Very egalitarian, isn't it?
Yeah,
very nice. The
roller was the most exciting thing you can do in Banbury. Still is.
Nice. Mini Walmart is here as well. So good evening, buddy. So because you mentioned it then, Stevo, and I know you do a lot of coverage of it, the one of the things that I wanted to cover tonight was to talk about third-party bits, because a lot of Games Workshop players are a bit sort of, especially if you play in a Games Workshop shop, where they're very, very focused on you only using their pieces. All players are often quite kit bashy, and I know you cover a lot of ground in third parties stuff. So do you want to give people a little bit of a whistle stop tour, highlight a couple of the big brands and what the appeal is?
Well, I do a playlist at the moment that I'm working on, is 40k Orc range reviews. It was an idea I completely stole off Kirioth. He's been doing his range reviews, seems to be doing well for him, and I thought I can just basically steal this idea but do an Orky version of it. So
I don't think Kirioth's going to lose any sleep over you taking.
I think he's perfectly safe. I don't think he's got anything to worry about at this stage. But yeah, so I started off with Games Workshop, obviously, but then I wanted to introduce people to a lot of the third parties. So I've started working through some of the third parties, I think for the Orc players out there, third parties are great because GW do sometimes neglect us Orc players. They have done throughout the years. We get little bits here and there, and then there's a drought for a long time. And so if you're looking for something a little bit different, you want something new, the third parties are out there to support you. And I think being Orcs, like you said, very kit bash friendly, lots of conversions, lots of scratch builds and stuff. So there's loads of third parties out there providing fantastic Orc miniatures and alternatives to what GW do. You've got third places like Cromlech is probably the biggest and most well-known one. RTLW, Puppets War. And then we've got a lot of sort of newer companies coming out that sort of went down the 3D printing route, which is becoming huge now. And we've got companies like Gear Guts, who's a personal friend of mine who creates just a ridiculous amount of STL files and things for his patrons to download and stuff and print off themselves. But you can also go onto the store and buy them and have them sent to you. I've actually got one here, actually on my desk that I'm working on at the moment. This is a Mega Dread of Gear Guts that I'm currently very basic paint job at the moment. It's work in progress, but yeah, that's just one example of the stuff that people, I love this thing. I'm completely in love with it. And yeah, it's just great stuff like that. I mean, even to the point where this is such an honor, Gear Guts actually created a miniature of myself from my logo, which again, I'm in work. This is the 6+ Stevo War Boss that we had done for the it's I mean, what
What an honor.
I never thought I would look on a storefront and see a miniature of me in orc form. That's just that's like the greatest honor I think I'll ever have.
And he's doing it of several.
Yeah, he did it. I think he first made one of himself, and then he created the 4 of us war bosses from the show. So there's myself, Scar, Dim, and Dreadwar, and it was all based on artwork that we had drawn up. Another member of the community we had draw us up as like orc caricatures for the show, for the intro, and he created the designs from those pieces of artwork. And yeah, and then since he's gone through other orc YouTubers and created their war bosses versions of them, so he's it's fantastic. It's kind of a sign that you've made it now in the orc YouTube world. If Gear Guts has made a miniature of you, it's like, that's it, I've made it, I'm there. I have a miniature to represent me, and it's really cool. So cool.
Pretty good. So what was seeing in there? Tonight's giveaway is half a resin ship, says Subcommandante. If you haven't seen Warlord Resin, one of our shorts videos of John not exactly handling a miniature with the kind of care it deserves, it is quite funny. We've got here Bloodletters of Nurgle. I think I missed a bit. Mini Warmots, Discotheque Gamers with Coffee. Good evening. Kaiser found some new on-screw Team Yankee Abrams M60 brandies in work that were being binned. I'll send them to you on Friday for MFA or the school club. That'd be very kind of you. We played tanks at school, so certainly the Panzer 3s and 4s I can give to the kids to play tanks with. For those of you that don't know, David and I work in a school and we run a games club. We had our first meeting post-COVID. So these kids many of them haven't played a game of Warhammer since March last year. Would have been the last game that they played. It was
This is sounding like an Oxfam advert right there.
No.
For just £5 a month, you could help a child play wargaming. Yeah.
So hang on, how did that go then? Because surely you're there on point, and they're going to ask you questions. And I'm guessing you two haven't really played 40k anytime. So how was that when little Johnny was asking, Mr. Kaiser? Obviously, that's not your name at school. What do I do with this? Pointing to, I don't know, whatever. How did it go?
Slowly.
Did you remember stuff? Or did you just...
There's lots of me shouting for Michael.
And then him on the phone to Michael, Team Clueless.
I mean, one of the great things about working with kids, especially working in a school, is everything that you say, especially to kids in key stage, so you sort of 14 and under, is just unadulterated truth. They believe. They may not always do what you ask them to do, but they do believe that everything you say is the absolute truth and the total knowledge. So it does make things like rules decisions quite a lot easier, because even if I'm wrong, that they still believe it, which is quite good. But yeah, this was something that we were talking the other week about in terms of playing Warhammer and what a 9th edition, and we'll move on to that in a second, I think. But those kids often have a very, very vague concept of how this game is played, and are still having quite a good time playing it, even to the extent where, so at one of the tables they were modeling up Kill Team. So they were playing, I move a unit, I shoot it, I fight with it, and then I move on to the next unit. And actually in a small game of 40k, that's probably a better way of playing it, because it's a bit more interactive. But then on other tables you've got kids that still don't know that Space Marines hit on a 3. But they've got hundreds of pounds worth of models that their granny has bought them or whatever. You're trying to marshal these things. And what we tend to be doing, usually I can persuade David to take a new kid through some of the starter snaps. You like that no fear?
Yeah.
When the new guy comes in and sort of halfway through the year, you usually sit down with him, wouldn't you, David, and play through those scenarios and take them through that. Yeah, it works really well.
Yeah.
Good.
Whereas at the beginning of the year, usually in September, we take them through a bit of a program. So we start by painting a miniature that Games Workshop have sent us. We then play a few taster games together, by which time they've usually started collecting. But one of the things that's really upsetting, you see, with kids is them throwing money at the product before they've ever played the game. You know, and the burnout rate on those, the number of 12-year-olds that want to play or think they do, and then within 6 months, like, oh, this is quite hard work, actually. You see all that.
Big reasons I got into Orks, wasn't it? So that we could have another army in school that we could play, and something relatively simple, not relative.
Blimey, governor.
Always the challenge, and we're no better than this than kids in this respect. The real challenge with the kids is getting to realize that until you can move, shoot, and resolve 10 Space Marines shooting at each other, you don't need any more models. You're going to learn the rules with 10 models, or 10 models and a captain. But getting them to try and play that version of the game week after week, when they've just built this Redemptor Dreadnought where one of the legs falls off and all that kind of stuff because they're only 12. They want to use everything they've got, but they need to play a game that they don't have to play in an hour. But I think as adults, we're not much better than that.
No, I know plenty of grown-ups that are just as bad as that.
Every model a different rule, every weapon a different gun, all of that kind of stuff. And what we have found, though, to actually sort the wheat from the chaff is tanks is a much better starter game to learn the basics. It's on a new version now, World of Tanks, the miniatures game, but it's fundamentally the game we had before. Start the kids off with advanced squad leader. Mate, I can't play advanced squad leader, let alone the kids. Kit bash for kids, yeah, interesting.
Kit bash kits for kids.
The cat's out of the bag then. 9th edition, Stevo. What I have a bit of a not and I'm barely played like everybody else, but I've not been hugely impressed with the what's it called, the kind of ITC mission format that they've stuck front and center of 9th edition to the extent I really don't enjoy that mission format that I've been counting. Have you had many games yourself? How are you finding 9th edition?
Yeah, obviously we're coming out of the pandemic at the moment. Touch wood. We've come out of like another lockdown, and so it's been the last year. It's been for most of us very difficult to try and get any games in. So I managed to get a few in just before the first lockdown. We started off, a group of us doing a little mini combat patrol tournament, and that was our. For all of us, it was like our first games. So we were kind of learning the games in small battles and doing that. But to strip it down and simplify it for us just while we learned it, we just didn't do secondary objectives at all. We just did primaries. And that simplified it quite a lot to, keep it nice and simple. And we had a day to do this tournament in, so we tried to speed it up as well. And that helped. But yeah, ever since then, I've managed to get a few games in. I haven't played for a good couple of months now, at least. My last game would have been, I can't even remember now. It was a fair while ago, too long ago. And I've been really enjoying 9th. I really enjoyed 8th edition, and for me, 9th is 8th edition, but with tweaks to the rules. And I think there's been a lot of improvements, but I do know what you mean about it's probably the most complex part of the game now is keeping a track of what secondaries you've achieved and what primaries you've achieved. And it can be a bit of a ball ache, actually, that part of it. It really can. I
mean, I can see why the competition side of things want that. As a casual player, it's the fact that there was an ITC mission pack for people that want to play pro gaming. Yeah, that was out there already, and people at that level were very happy with it. It's the fact that the book missions have taken on that format. It
surprises
very much follow that, man. Because I look at it and thinking, I was happy with 8th edition, mate. I don't really know why I'm changing. I'm changing because I'm supposed to, not because I want to.
It's funny because when I've played friendly games, we've played the full missions with the secondaries and everything. And when we played our little mini tournament, we stripped that stuff out because we felt that for the purposes of a tournament game, we wanted it to be streamlined and quick games, because we wanted to, because you're going to play several games in a day. So for us, it made sense to strip out that extra stuff for the tournament purposes. So it was just hyper focused on just the primaries. You don't have to think about nothing else. You're just fighting over these objectives. That's all that matters. And it made for really focused, quick games. And when we played friendlies, we've quite enjoyed the secondaries. We've enjoyed the extra tactical thing, like, you know, you've chosen your army and everything. You know who you're fighting, and then choosing your secondaries to suit your army and stuff. It adds the extra level of, you know, strategy and stuff. It is a pain keeping the scores and stuff. But yeah, I find it funny that that's what they want for tournaments, because I don't really take part in big tournaments and things. I've only done very small local ones and things. And even then only minimally. But I would argue that tournaments, the simpler and more streamlined, the better, especially if you've got a limited time frame and you're on the clock. I hate being on the clock. I hate it. I get so stressed. I like to relax and take my time with the game, you know.
Well, especially when you've got 120 orc boys to move.
Moving is when you've got to shoot with the bloody thing. That's when the real problems start. It's like, I'm going to roll a lot of dice now and nothing's going to happen. It's going to end up in nothing. It's the problem.
I remember Michael had a game once, and it was exactly that. I think I had, you know, a blob of 30, 60 boys, whatever it was, shooting against him, and he just looked at me and went, "I'll give you 2 wounds. I'll give you 2 wounds right now." I was like, "No, what are you talking about? Come on, think. There's going to be way more than that." I think at the end it was 1 wound, and maybe not even one. I remember sitting there going, "I should have taken those 2 wounds." It's like half an hour later of just rolling the dice.
Shooting at Terminators or something, weren't you? It was just like, mate, this isn't going to turn into much. It's not going to turn into much. Yeah, I mean, it's funny that, because for me, I remember when you were talking, when you were just getting into it in 8th edition, you're talking about, so you were collecting the forces, you were painting the figures, and I said, maybe you want 10 shooter boys at the back, because you're going to lose 10 guys before you get into combat. You might as well do a bit of shooting at the same point. And then after we played a few games again, you don't want to shoot boys because you don't want to waste time shooting. It's not going to do anything. It's just going to add half an hour to the game, and it isn't going to make any difference.
I'll tell you when shooter boys are good is when you're fighting other orcs.
Right. Yeah.
Really good. If you play orcs versus orcs, you're laughing. It changes the whole dynamic. Yeah, there's no armor. Or if you're fighting against nids or like infantry heavy guard things, it makes for a very different game. But so many of the factions of that 3+ save or 2+ save, don't they? And
where all of those but those quickly get thinned down, don't they? It's an interesting one. So St. Andy says you should play 6th edition Ancient, sort the wheat out from the chaff. I mean, you're going back at least 30 years there. I did enjoy 6th edition Ancients. 5 models of medium cavalry, not the unit to build. Unfortunately, I had quite a lot of those in my Carthaginian army. Newbury Fast Play. I don't know those. Does anybody know what that is? Newbury Fast Play? I assume it's a simple skirmish set. So the thing with Warhammer, and I think that this is a big difference between the way I play and I think a lot of the guys on the channel play versus a lot of other players, is a lot of Warhammer players, it is their game. They just play Warhammer. You know, they go to work, they drink beer, they watch TV, and they play Warhammer. Whereas for me and a lot of the guys here, we are hobbyists and we play bolt action, we play Flames of War, we play all kinds of different games, board games, role-playing games. And that, therefore, like you were talking about choosing your secondaries and stuff like that being nice to do, all of that pre-game work is really problematic for someone who's quite casual about it.
Yeah.
If it's your only game, like the Magic guys, they love building their decks. I think Magic is fine if you give me a deck to play. I will play you a game of Magic once and enjoy it, but I don't want to invest the time in the deck building side. So it's interesting because obviously as a company they need to satisfy. But I think sometimes with Warhammer, especially when they bring out these supplements like Vigilus was or like the one that they announced today, is I feel they're doing that thing about like MMOs do. They're just providing you with more things to do. You know, it's like the busy working computers that, oh, well, if you invest another 2 days in reading this book, you can get 3% better. And it's just filling your free
designed
time.
To. We were discussing this, myself and Scar on the. We've discussed this a lot, like how it's Games Workshop. I think design their games now to keep you invested. They don't want you to have that free time to be able to go and look elsewhere and stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to be good at it and you want to keep up with it, there's constant updates, there's constant expansions, there's constant new supplements and things coming out. And it's designed in a way to keep you invested so that you can't veer off and be distracted by some other shinies that some other company's showing you. They want you purely focused on their product. I think that's not by accident at all. I think that's definitely what they do.
Yeah,
very, very true.
I think it's really put me off actually getting into 9th. I think there seems to be there's this little boundary where I know I've just got a lot of reading to do, a lot of
learning. And you haven't even got a codex yet.
No,
that's all.
Play. Roll some dice, shoot some things, just have a play with some friends.
Yeah,
investing into this whole new. Well, it's not new anymore, is it? But investing into it is. I'm sure I will. I just need Michael to give me a kick up the bum.
I do really like 9th. I think the game. I really enjoy the game. I think we were discussing before we came on camera, weren't we, that vehicles are a lot better now than they were in 8th. The terrain rules are much better defined. They fixed a lot of the weaker points of 8th, which was already a good system. I think they've addressed some of the sort of weaker parts of it. Any issues I had in games of 8th was always discussions over what should happen in terrain. There was a unit in terrain assaulting another unit, and there was always a grey area that the rule book didn't give us the answers to, and we had to kind of decide what to do. But in 9th, it's much more clear cut. You've got very clearly defined rules on that. But it's the constant updates which has become a real bugbear. Points changes constantly, rules changes, tweaks and things, FAQs, erratas, and that can be really hard to keep up with if you're a casual player. What you're reading in your codex or in your rule book could essentially not be the rules, which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
It's like Gene Stealer Colts. Gene Stealer Colts didn't know they can deep strike in the first turn. It says it in the book. Fact.
There you go. That's a perfect example.
One of our videos that we got criticised heavily for. And it's usually satisfied when Grot kills Beaky off in the shooting phase.
The defenders, they're quick to come after you, aren't they?
I love it.
Oh,
I said it's satisfying when a Grot kills a Beaky off in the shooting phase. I hear that Grots are surprisingly dangerous in large numbers.
Yeah, they are. They certainly are.
You realize? Josh Wood wants to know, is there any advice for a bolt action beginner tournament? 750 points. Oh my days. What? We're not people to talk to about tournaments, mate.
Hang on. What does he mean though? Does he mean like setting one up? Does he mean like army list? Does he mean?
I assume so.
What's he mean? Josh Wood, what do you mean?
You said, are you asking us what army of 750 points you should take to a tournament? I believe as many flamethrowers as you can have is the way to go. And a mortar, minimum sized units. Nothing like the games of bolt action you'll see us play. We don't even usually track points anymore. Which I think to Warhammer people is just unimaginable. So what do you mean you don't play with points? How do you not play with points? Wardrobe says, men, no points in building lists for me, so I struggle with D&D and Pathfinder. I enjoyed the role-playing portion of storytelling, but my character was super weak because I didn't understand how the stats work together. I see list building as a similar thing. Yeah, the whole min-maxing thing. And so there's something about computer games as well has done that now, hasn't it? Is that there's a real solo play focus in computer games and trying to get a competitive edge over the computer and over the game. And I think a lot of that kind of min-maxing approach that's really often really positively regarded in computer games is ported over to the miniature gaming and the role-playing scene. What the 40k players want, guys? What do 40k players do with their old book? Do they have multiple volumes of similar books on their shelves? My answer to that is get them on eBay before the new edition comes out. John?
Mate, you've been extremely successful with that. I don't do that. I wait until about 3 years after when nobody ever wants it, but then decide I need to get rid. So I get rid of it. The only exception is I've still got all of my second edition codexes, so of 40k. So there you go. Follow the Kaiser's advice. Preempt the new codex. Sell it a week before. Somebody will buy it and then cry.
David, old Warhammer books, what did you do with them?
Well, I only started in 8th, didn't I? They're still relatively cool for me.
Yeah.
Right. No, so I haven't got to that point yet.
Yeah, I'm one of the people that buys the old ones to collect them.
Collect the old ones.
Let me introduce you to my friend Johnny. He's actually
When you're selling them, Johnny, give us a shout.
All right, mate.
Yeah, I like to. It's mostly Orc ones, although I do have a few other factions. But yeah, I like to look back fondly on them, and especially for lore and pictures and see what it used to be. And it's good. There's
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I regret I gave some of my old Imperial Guard codexes away, third ed and whatnot. Oh, we're moving on. Look at this.
I was just getting it ready.
He's a handsome fella, isn't he?
Why, that's taken centre stage, mate. Let's talk about that.
All right. Okay. So, Steve, you're the pro, mate. You're the Orc guy. We had we've got Warhammer Week. What's it called, John?
Warhammer Fest. Yeah.
Warhammer Fest. So their big announcement, which normally happens over a weekend, I think, is happening on live streams across the week. And today we had the 40k section of it, and they didn't talk about Orks. Well, fortunately, they had told us a little bit about Orks previously. So what we're looking at here, Stevo, you're the pro. What's this? What does it mean? Why is it exciting?
Can I just say I was so relieved they didn't talk about Orks today. I knew I was coming on here. I've been at work. I knew I'd have had to make a video covering it, and I was thinking, please don't do it today. I was literally watching it. I'm excited, but it's just a bad time. Can you hold off for a few days? But yeah, this is one of the Beast Snagger boys. So this is the new sort of sub-faction, sort of new clan, for want of a better term, of Orks. They're not snake bites. Honestly, they are basically snake bites. Yeah. But these are basically scar boys. These are bigger, tougher, more grizzled Orc boys, slightly more feral. But they're sort of somewhere between a boy and a knob. They're essentially scar boys. And I love them.
And you don't have to be a snake bite to have these.
You don't. They can be used in any clan, which is why I think they've gone down that route, because specializing it snake bites would limit your audience quite heavily. It's much the same as what they did with the buggies. They were kind of very evil sons, really, speed freaks. But again, they could be used in any clan. Yeah, these, I'm liking the look of these quite a bit. They're divided in opinion. They're not for everyone. Some people, there's a lot of people sort of, they don't like the way that their heads have shrunk down a bit.
Right.
And there's sort of they've been sort of accused of being possibly the Primaris version of Orks.
That's what I was going to say. This is a Primaris boy, isn't it?
Yeah, and I do kind of share those concerns. I do worry for the existing boys, whether they're going to eventually be pushed out. That is a slight concern for the future of what GW have planned for the faction. So I don't know. There's a lot of scale creep in 40k at the moment, isn't there? And
but I mean, so because the boy is interesting. I see this a lot, and I see non-Orc players talk a lot about how old the boy kit is and it needs updating and so. And I'm thinking, I think most Orc players don't want a new boy kit. They do not want to repaint their 200 boys.
No.
It's like if you're going to make a new boy kit, can you make sure it isn't even a millimeter taller than the ones I've already got?
Yeah.
So the whole Primaris boy thing, I thought was an interesting take on it, and that's why I think this is Primaris boy, is because your existing boys are still going to have a role. If they just released a new boy kit, it'd be 4 or 5 mil taller, and it would just make all of your old boys look crap.
Yeah. I've talked about this a lot on my channel in the sort of lead up to the wish listing and things for what I want them to do with, because there's been a lot of talk of it's time for the boys kit to be updated, and it's my kind of wish list for the redoing the boys was that they do it in a way that modernizes them and brings them up to the current standard of what they can do with kits now, but at the same time that happy middle ground of not making the old boys obsolete. The best example of that I've seen is when they did the Necrons. And right. I think when they redid the Necron Warriors, I think they did a fantastic job of modernizing them and adding little details and things. But I think the old Necrons still look great. And I think you could even have them within the same army, and they don't make the old ones look crap. They don't clash too much in style. They're just very subtly updated and stuff, in my personal opinion. And that's what I was hoping for the Orks. But yeah, I don't know. Are these Primaris boys? I don't know. I mean, I really like the model though. I do really like the model. What the stuff they've been showing, personally, I think it looks really cool. I can't wait to get my hands on it. It's been so long since we've had new stuff.
Do you reckon we'll see a plastic squig off?
It's quite possible. We've got that big chariot thing coming, haven't we? That we saw on the artwork. That with the big weird boy tower being pulled by the big sort of squig ball things. So there's a lot more squigs and things coming now. We've obviously yesterday had the new pain boss.
I'm getting to that. That.
I'll hold off on that then. I'll hold off on that. I love this little fella.
This one.
The little
this one.
Yeah, this fella.
Let's talk about this fella.
He's gorgeous. Oh,
this is the new Pain Boy, is it?
This is the new Pain Boss. So this is Pain Boys still exist. Pain Boys are still a thing. This, I believe, a little bit of speculation, but they pretty much said it in the description that he's basically going to be an HQ character. Yeah, and he's a better version of a Pain Boy. He's going to do more than what a Pain Boy does. But so Pain Boys still exist, and this is a Pain Boss, a souped up Pain Boy, basically.
Super quick, yeah.
I like the massive throwback and nod to the old Pain Boys. That head there, if you look way back in the archives and miniatures, is pretty much a direct copy of an old Pain Boy.
Is it?
Yeah, there's one with a proper just metal can head.
Just like got a very similar claw, hasn't he, and everything as well.
Yeah.
And,
nice.
They're doing a lot of dipping back into the old stuff, like, because in that article they hinted quite heavily towards an old classic Ork character that hasn't seen the light of day for a long time. Old Zodgrod Wartsnagger. This is purely speculation on my part. But if you read the large paragraph, it says we'll be revealing in 2 weeks' time a certain characterful Ork that has a particular love of Gretchen, or it was worded something like that. And it's like, well, that's Zodgrod. That's got to be. That fella. That's the one.
That fella.
Yeah, quite possibly. Now,
with his super grots.
I hope so. I really hope so. So
have you got some of those old grots, John? The old hopping grots?
I've got some of the old characters. I've got Zogrod, whatever his name is, Wartsnagger, and his special rules back in the day were he would upgrade a unit of not Snotling. No, he could do Snotlings or Gretchen and make him super grots, and they were just slightly better, not massively, but
super grots weren't actually better. It's just a brand. And stuff like that. I love how universal squigs are becoming in Orks. So this guy's got like a drip bag hanging off there, which is just made up. You can get a squig can do anything if you're an Ork, right?
Literally, whatever you need doing, you can breed a squig for it. Yeah.
Cool. So tell me about this guy. I didn't catch what this, other than being cute as hell. What?
Yeah.
Is he just? Is he a grot orderly?
Yeah, he's the new grot orderly with his mono wheel, so that he can keep up with the pain boss on his super legs. And well, he's just bloody lovely, isn't he? He's just the cutest little thing going. Yeah, he's brilliant. Absolutely love him. Grots are amazing, and yeah, anytime grots are so good. And this fella he just looks awesome. I love him.
Yeah. What do you reckon?
He's been through the wars a bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely love him. I think what he'll be able to do as well sounds quite exciting, because you and me spoke about it a little while ago. I think the mobility that you can get with some of the Ork models now is quite exciting. Just being able to shift around the board so quickly, and I think this answers a few of the issues that were coming with the old Pain Boy. So yeah, no, I'm excited. And it's a lovely model. And you know me, that's all I really care about. I just want to
that is the most important thing.
Yeah, you know, absolutely. A model like that as well, it doesn't necessarily need to do anything, right? It can just exist.
Yeah.
So that was him. And then this is actually maybe the first of the reveals, isn't it? I'm going quite far back in time now, I think.
Oh yeah, it's worth bringing them back up. I've forgotten about them.
I think that was the second one they revealed. I think there was the earlier one, wasn't there? There's two of these fellas have been revealed.
Right. I picked the one with the little grot.
Yeah, these divide opinion quite heavily. A lot of people have complained about the noses on the squig hogs. They don't like the sort of piggy snouts on them. I don't mind them personally. I think they look good. Although I did see a picture that someone did where someone said, "Look, fixed it," and they'd gone in on computer and they'd smoothed it out and just put nostrils. And I must admit, it did look quite cool actually. But no, I think these look great. I don't have any issue with them. They're basically the replacement for the old boar boys, the cyborgs that they used to have in older editions. But I think these make more sense lore-wise. Because
you can get squig to do anything.
Yeah, where are they going to keep getting the boars from? You know, but the way Orks breed and the fungus sort of, breeding on the planets and things so it kind of makes sense. But I just think these look great. These look awesome.
I do. So if I have a fear, and this is why I left this one to last, if I have a fear in relation to this, it is that I remember how expensive those squig hoppers were when they brought them out, and they were a very expensive kit considering what you got, a couple of night goblins and half a dozen squigs, and it was about 35 quid or something. I was quite shocked at the cost for what you were getting. 35 quid
for 20 points, That's the only thing with Orks, isn't it?
They'll come as individuals, or they'll come as like a little packet of 3, maybe.
I think in a pack of 3, personally. I
these
think
are going to come. 3, yeah. I mean, these in terms of points,
you're going to need 50 of them, just lined up in a massive cavalry charge.
Well, presumably they're going to have stats similar to Bikers or Thunderwolf Cavalry. These are going to be 3-4 wound models with 4 or 5 attacks. I mean, this is going to be a vehicle on a in a melee vehicle, isn't it?
Yeah,
they're going to hit very hard, I think, because they've got those rocket-propelled like spears that I think are going to.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, they're little rockets on there, so they can actually. By the sounds of it, it sounds like they can actually fire them off. They might be able to have like some form of shooting attack or something, possibly.
There is a red button on
or an explosive attack on the charge. That it's when they hit, they'll dish out some mortal wounds or something. I think they're gonna hit hard on the charge. Shock cavalry sort of unit, I think.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah. What was I looking for? Rosie's saying she put a nose ring on it. I don't know whether you get.
Yeah, that has to be done. No, that's just kind of a must now, isn't it?
Is that to make it a flash gate version? You can give them.
Yeah, you go. Yeah.
I'd say there doesn't seem to be a lot of jewelry on these newer Orks.
No, they're not very bad moony, are they? They need to be blinged up a bit, get a bit more yellow on them.
Not very bling.
A few more teeth.
Not very bling. So that was that. That's all the picture I got for the Orks. It probably is worth talking briefly about what's been announced today, I guess, for those that are interested. Did you catch any of today's Games Workshop news, John? And what penny for your thoughts?
I did watch it at work. It was quite interesting to see some of the response, especially in some of the local group chats as well. A lot of people were quite let down by today's reveal, as most of it has already been seen before. But they showed some awesome cool things, like the crazy bird in the crazy armor for the Sisters of Battle.
Crazy bird in crazy armor.
That was the tagline thing, actually.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Hashtag.
Tagline, yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was actually it. So yeah, they're kind of cool, but they've got split. They've split the community as well. I think a lot of people are like, they're absolutely weird and chaff.
I can't get into them. They're like the hunchback mech priestesses, Sisters of Battle.
Yeah.
But
the other ones looked all right. The Sancta what's it doofers, the birds with the spears and the shields. They were quite nice. Yeah. That aesthetically went, it's going with the arc of the Sisters of Battle. But anyway, that stuff's boring, right? What was cool was the book, which I can't remember what it is. Can someone enlighten me?
The new
Warzone Caradon. That's the one.
Yeah. Did you catch any of it, David?
Absolutely none. Not. Gyms are reopened.
Gyms are open.
Straight up the work today.
Warzone Caradon is another one of these source books like Vigilus. It's got new rules, even more rules.
Yeah, I'm not gonna buy it.
A new story. I mean, it is odd because even in the States, when they opened up a bit earlier than here in Britain, there's still not that many people can have played that many games yet, and they're already bringing out supplements. There has been a tournament where Dark Elves did all the winning.
Where all the Dark Elves all the way.
All the Dark Elves all the way. Yeah.
That happened.
And what about you, Stevo, then? You take anything away from what we saw today that you were interested in?
Sisters of Battle, probably one of the factions that interests me the least, to be honest. They're just not really for me, much like yourself. But so repeat what Johnny B said. The ladies with the shields, they looked quite cool. I do like this one. I think it was already been shown earlier, but the one that's like an Iron Maiden, but it's like a dreadnought, but it's sort of, and it's like a sinner, like a heretic that's put in there and kept alive and tortured within it and driven insane and then let loose on the enemy, and the lore behind it. I'm like that is grim. That's proper grim dark, and I think that thing's quite cool.
Is that not what the Evisaur Assassin's supposed to be? Or he's drugs rather than...
You've got the penitent engines, which are just civilians, which are put in those machines.
Yeah. There's a new...
What you're talking about, it's a Sister of Battle, isn't it? In a slightly bigger mech. Was that on today?
It wasn't on today. It was on a bit earlier, but I don't know. It may have been shown instead. I think the new Pentient engine's got two different versions now. So you've got the Pentient engine, or you've got the one now. Rather than the person exposed at the front, there's a different build option to have like enclosed, like an Iron Maiden looking thing.
Oh, sweet.
But there's a heretic or someone that's a traitor of some kind that's been put in there, and they're being paying for their sins in the most torturous way possible and kept alive for as long as possible. And it's just like proper medieval stuff.
That side of things is good.
Yeah, and I must admit that looks quite cool, and it makes it a bit more sense because it can't just be taken out with a good headshot because it's not all exposed.
In fact,
as I noticed, a lot of this Sisters of Battle stuff there's a lot of no helmets going on. All this amazing armor and mech suits, but headshot right here, that'll sort it out.
Mate, the Emperor protects, man. The
Emperor protects.
There you go.
Yeah. So in Imperial Guard. So this is the other big issue with Ninth, is the nature of the mission structure. Because it's not just about taking and about holding, it's about being there time after time after time in the middle of the board, for multiple turns and having free capacity in your army, I've never felt that GW, in terms of its point system, charged people enough for mobility. If you see the units that were always considered really powerful or really useful in the game, they all had much better than average mobility.
Mobility is so important.
And they just don't charge enough points for it. Or more importantly, they don't refund enough points on troops with lower mobility. But there are armies that are really struggling in that new format, armies that cannot stand and hold ground. And Imperial Guard is one of those armies. All I would say on that is I think we felt Space Marines were mega overpowered, and then we saw the Death Guard Codex, and then we saw the Dark Elf Codex.
Codex
creep is not a new thing, and I don't think it is. It is creep. I think they probably have some outline ideas about how at the end of the edition, all of these things are going to have some degree of balance. Imperial Guard have so far had nothing out of 9th edition, and they're going to get something. And if I was a betting man, I wouldn't be surprised to see something like what Dreadnoughts have had or Death Guard have had going on to something like the Lehman Russ. If the Lehman Russ has got damage reduction, or Bane Blades and stuff get damage reduction, half damage to Bane Blades, something like that. What a game changer that might be for the Imperial Guard. There's something that allows them to use their transports a little bit better. I think we've not had anything for Guard yet, and I think you're going to see something. And it can't just be buy more Bulgrin. And that's not good for them because they can't supply it all, and people just don't want to play 1,500 points worth of Bulgrin. And at £10 a model,
maybe they'll bring Rough Riders back and give them a bit of speed.
Yeah, I mean, Guard have got the mobility because the order move allows you to move twice. They've always had mobility. It's mobility at the cost. It's the fact they've no staying power. A 10-man Guard unit can't stand up to anything. It's not just it loses in some matchups, it loses in all matchups. But I think that there are definitely things that they could do, and they need to do something to allow. But if they give Lehman Russ damage reduction and objective secured, that's a game changer for Guard.
Objective secured on a Lehman Russ.
You can get it at the moment, but you have to take them in their own detachment, and their own extra detachments are really expensive now, whereas they used to generate command points at no cost. I think you're going to see that. I would absolutely love to see squats, and I think over the next 5 to 10 years you will see them. But I think it's that kind of time frame. You know, they put them in Necromunda and stuff. They're starting to bring them back.
I think that was just to hush the crowds. I don't think you're going to see them ever again.
There's some very cool third-party ones out there. Back on the third-party thing, there's some great third-party squats out there I've seen. I can't remember the companies, but I've seen a few recently of some beautiful-looking squat miniatures.
There's some ones that look really classic, but there's some nice alternative ones as well. Is it Wargames Atlantic? Is that one? They've got a plastic kit.
Could be.
They do Grognard, which are like French Imperial Guard, and then they do these Heimskir squat dudes, which are very sort of Nordic. They'd be quite good as allies for Space Wolves, I think.
Yeah.
Very sort of Nordic looking dudes, Viking looking dudes. But yeah, there are quite a few out there.
We are down to 7 minutes to go, by the way.
Really?
Let's talk Warhammer. I know we sound like we're having a real downer about Warhammer because we're just not. John and I, in particular, we've been talking about what we're doing as the kind of lockdown and the restrictions are starting to ease, and it's becoming to be a bit more likely that we can start recording some games. And we're just not. We're not enthusiastic about doing that, and that's the reality, isn't it? We're putting it off. Putting it off. What have you got there, John?
Open the box. Somebody just requested me to open the box. So this, lovely people, is another Warlord random box, but not a mystery box, not a £50 mystery box. They had a sprue sale on, so I bought a menagerie of wonderful sprues. Shall we see what is in here? We have some hoplite upgrade sprues because they have some helmets. They have some helmets that will make my Spartans look like actual Spartan dudes. sort of not historically accurate Spartan dudes. So we have 2 of those. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Who doesn't need pill bases for bolt action and your teams, right? Because it's well worth having your LMG teams and other team weapons being together, so you can't miscount them. Other things, Cybermen.
What?
Nice.
Doctor Who Cybermen. Because I got Doctor Who's, didn't I, in my main
Right.
Uber box. So I got some Cybermen and my new Necron army.
Daleks.
Oh, hell yeah.
Tiny Daleks, man.
Yeah, they are tiny Daleks, but I'm going to use them as destroyers, and they're going to be great. And last on the list is a random sprue of the, I think it's Wargames Atlantic. What does it say there? Wargames Factory Skelly Bobs. And these are so overly complex, you have to put their feet on to the legs and stuff. So yeah, a little bit like that. The Doctor Who stuff is going to be for Rosie's nephew, actually, because he's proper into it. He's only 9, and his favourite Doctor is Matt Smith, which I have. So I'm going to do him a little sort of starter kit and have some Daleks, Cybermen, and Matt Smith. Which reminds me, can you order a TARDIS, please, on your next Warlord order? That would be very nice, sir.
No, because it's not on the order form, genuinely.
Ah, boo!
What they've got on the order form for retailers is massively reduced because of COVID. You still get stuff off their website, but they can't manufacture it easily. Let's talk about where we got to this evening. I can say that I got my tufts on these. What about you, Jay Bizzle? What did you get up? What did you achieve this evening?
What did I achieve? I opened that. I've glued some special bolt action project, which you'll see in a video soon, I hope. So I glued a few teams for theirs. It may be very similar to that. And I've also randomly started painting a Talisman 3rd edition Halfling Rogue dude.
Talisman, the Magical Quest game.
Yeah, man. It's awesome.
Too long.
I haven't got the game. I just got the plastic miniatures. Because they go perfectly with Hero Quest and whatnot. How much brown did Pogson paint?
The bits that were supposed to be brown are now brown.
Boom!
Don't worry about Achievement unlocked.
This is something
completed it.
Done the brown.
What about you, Steve?
Oh, not so good, I'm afraid. You've all put me to shame. I only had 3 grots left to build, and all I've managed to do is remove the mould lines off a body and his arms, not even the head. So I haven't even done one. I've literally just literally removed some mould lines. You know.
They're tiny and they've got intricate mould lines to be removed. So well done for getting that far.
Thank you very much, Johnny.
I am now going to show up close because I've been painting these two Yankee British. I know, right? I was figuring out mold lines on your ass, and I'm going to give you a close up. I don't know how well this is going to work. I'm going to try and show you. I've been painting the Team Yankee British, and the webbing is causing me some problems. Of these 3, so you can see this one.
You need to put yourself on the big screen.
Put myself on the big screen. I was
bring yourself up.
Right.
There we go.
So the webbing on these guys, I'm holding this webcam, which is why it's so janky cam.
It's not so bad. It's not so bad.
So
no, it's pretty bad.
The one in the middle, I'm told by soldiers, is closest to what it looks like when it's freshly issued.
So the lighter of the green, right?
The greeny green. The one on the right there,
sort of an olivey drab style.
Olivey drab, yeah, which is the kind of the same color that I painted their weapon systems. And the one on the back there is like the bleach canvas that I've used on a variety of models. Now the thing is with it is, as I look at them up close, is quite different to when you're actually going to look at them from miles away.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to like the bleached one because it stands out more.
Yeah, I mean, the few comments I've seen on where you've put the threads up, it does seem to be the one.
Oh,
solely
I don't know what people think. Would it have been easier if I'd done it like this? Is that actually
No.
a better way of doing it? No, it's not, is it?
Not really.
No, I should have thought this through and got some photographs. All right. I'd be interested to know, just because a bit of time has gone into these, and the reality of it is these are 15mm miniatures. They're going to sit at the back of the board on an objective, and I don't actually know why I'm troubling myself over it. But I always find it's like, where do you put the line between, with this as a historical gamer, between getting the uniforms right and getting the uniforms looking like how you want them to look? And I don't know. I try and get them sort of rightish. But I realise increasingly, if it looks sort of German, I'm fine with it. If it looks sort of British.
I think you got to consider it needs to be a bit of practicality as well. Like a lot of people are saying, even in there, I don't know if you can see there, the khaki one looks best, the beige one looks best. And somebody commented on one of the posts, it's like the beige one, at least you'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
Because it's a completely radically different contrast colour on the board. Mostly not right, historically, but, you know.
Yeah.
Practical.
I can't speak from a historical point of view, but I think it's better that it, from looking good this close to looking good at the table, how it looks on the table is more important. Definitely.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've painted miniatures.
Of that nonsense.
I've painted things up really close. And I'm like, oh yeah, that edge highlighting is beautiful. That looks so good. And then I've put it down. I'm like, you can't even see it. And so then I've gone in and gone really bold, and I'm thinking, oh, it's a bit much. And look down, I'm like, wow, that really pops. It looks great. So, and that's where you're going to look at them most of the time, isn't it, on the table? So
I'll show you the Kaiser approach. Look, here's the tank, and there's the Johnny B nightmare.
Oh my god!
Oh, look! Didn't paint the underneath.
You need to just graffiti some little messages to Johnny B underneath each one or something like
Johnny B, you prick. Guys, that has been the hour. Very Games Workshop-y tonight. It's good stuff. For anybody that's worried, we are not giving up on Games Workshop. We are not giving up on it. We're very heavily invested in our armies and in the story. We're just a bit butthurt about how complex the new mission rules are. But we talked about we're gonna play some casual games. We're gonna use an easy format. We're gonna rock up. We're gonna do some Ultramarines and some Death Guard pretty early on. But the Death Guard book is quite complicated. I've been reading it. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that.
And I want a rematch against Pogson.
I'm never playing you again, Johnny.
You got to
B.
bank that.
Yeah.
Oh, is that it? That's it. 100% win rate.
100% win rate.
Where you just retire.
I'm walking out. Dropping my.
For anyone that didn't see that's interested, we had a test on Saturday. We played some Dungeons and Dragons for the first time on the channel.
Oh, yeah.
It was fun. Our GM Harry in Australia there was delay, so his audio was fine, but his lip sync was about 20 seconds out. So watching it is a little bit weird. But we had a lot of fun. I'd be really interested, anybody that's into role playing, if you have a look at it and give us some feedback, because we're still not sure whether we will role play again, but whether we do it on camera is an entirely different matter, whether it's something that you want to watch. Because while we're still in these kind of last death throes of the lockdown, we're still doing a few experiments. On Friday, we'll be putting out the Black Powder update, which is the Callistra American Civil War figures, which we talked about a long time. And John and I are going to have a game of that just as soon as we can. We've decided, haven't we? Yeah. We talked about this about a year and a half ago. We're gonna, however janky it is, we're gonna film something and put it out there for you guys to rib us for.
As soon as we can.
And we have, for those that saw it, we are looking at a potential new ball action theatre, and we're going to be doing some videos on these in the near future. And next Tuesday, I've got Ken from the Plastic Crack podcast, Miniature Wargaming Warriors. He's going to be on the show. In the meantime, well, yeah. Do you want to just remind the people, Stevo, where can they find you? They've met you now, the legend that you are, gorgeous. Remind them, where can they find you?
They can find me on my channel, 6+ Stevo, and they can find me on my other channel that I co-host, the Ork War Bosses. And they can come and join. If you're into Orks at all, come and join the Facebook group, the 40k Ork community, and the Discord group, the 40k Ork community. Come and join, because not only will you find my channel, but you'll find loads of other great Ork channels as well. There's an awesome community of greenskin lovers out there. So yeah, come and join. If you're a 40k player and you haven't really dabbled in the Ork community, they're a really close knit. There's a lot of modeling, kit bashing. They're great fun people, and they all seem to kind of know each other as well. And Stevo, we had sort of said before about, you're one of these people. We're going to get a game in, right, when all this is over. Oh yeah, it's got to happen. It's got to happen. Yeah, definitely, 100%. That's got to happen. It's got to happen. Yeah, I'm hoping to get around and get some people around. All right, I think that's it from us tonight, then, guys. It's nice to have everyone here. Steve, you've been a legend. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.